You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump claims he can suspend the Constitution wherever he wants, and he's already started, based on an article by Tom Hartman. America's interior border is the point, a country with a border in its gut. The source story is simple enough. ICE and allied police are operating interior checkpoints and roving stops far from any actual border, within a federal zone that reaches 100 miles inland and covers most Americans. The article's own evidence shows the machinery is not accidental, not confused, and not limited to immigrants. It is a deliberately expanded system of internal suspicion, powered by Trump, ICE, a compliant Supreme Court majority, and local agencies cashing in on federal money. The checkpoint is the message. These stops are not about verifying one person's status. They are about teaching everyone nearby that movement is conditional and authority is arbitrary. The article lays out the grim logic. A construction worker waved over for a minor traffic matter, then surrounded by ICE checkpoints on the only highway in and out of the Florida Keys, stops at courthouses, bus terminals, train stations, airports. This is not border enforcement in any meaningful sense. It is domestic policing designed to turn ordinary life into a demand for documentation. That is the political meaning the piece gets right. A state that wants obedience does not need constant arrests. It needs enough visible stops, enough masked agents, enough fear to make people self-police. ICE is the central problem. The article should not be read as a call for better ICE practices. ICE is the problem. The agency is described paying state and local police, accumulating massive funding, deploying biometric trackers, mobile phone databases, spyware, drones, and facial recognition. That is not a reformable lapse. That is the construction of a domestic enforcement apparatus with surveillance capacity and cash incentives to expand itself. If the agency can target immigrants today and monitor protesters and U.S. citizens tomorrow, then the distinction between immigration enforcement and political policing is already thin enough to be fiction. Abolish ICE. Anything less leaves the architecture intact. The court signed the permission slip. The article correctly identifies the judiciary as an enabler, not a referee. The 1976 Martinez-Wert decision provided the legal foothold for brief interior stops. What followed, according to the source, was a steady creep into prolonged detentions, fishing expeditions, and now the Supreme Court's September ruling allowing agents in the Los Angeles area to use race, language, job type, and location as stop factors. That is the real scandal. The court did not merely fail to restrain abuse, it helped normalize it. Once reasonable suspicion becomes a permission structure for racial profiling, the law is no longer limiting power, it is laundering it. The surveillance state does not need a gate. The reporting also makes clear that the regime no longer needs a checkpoint in the old sense. It can track users through an official White House app, collect precise location data, misrepresent its privacy practices, and route traffic through private servers. It can use facial recognition, automatic license plate readers, and location databases. It can watch protesters. It can build a system that follows people everywhere and then call that convenience, security, or administration. This is the same old authoritarian instinct with a cleaner interface. A checkpoint used to require a guard. Now it can be implemented through software, databases, and licensing rules. The mechanism changes. The political purpose does not. The pattern is internal rule by fear. The article's strongest move is historical. Slave passes, black codes, Chinese certificate laws, apartheid dampas, Soviet internal passports, East German checkpoints. The American version is not an import. It is an old domestic habit with new tools and a better marketing budget. The target has always been people marked as disposable. Enslaved people, Black Americans, Chinese immigrants, brown-skinned workers, protesters, and anyone else the state decides should have to explain themselves. That is the through line. Not border security, not administrative confusion, rule through force legibility enforced by police power and sold as order. The deeper lesson is that authoritarian systems do not arrive all at once. They are assembled in pieces, funded in committees, blessed by courts, and normalized by people who insist the worst is still exceptional. In this case, the pattern is already visible. Trump wants the state to behave like a passing test for human beings. ICE supplies the muscle. The court supplies the doctrine, Congress supplies the money. The result is a country where citizenship is not enough protection, documentation is never enough reassurance, and the state keeps widening the circle of people it believes it may stop, search, and terrorize. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article. With the automated voice of Clara, thanks for listening.